Mohammed, welcome into CNBC. Thanks for joining us today. And you join us at quite a complicated time for the business and a very uncertain time when it comes to the broader outlook. Coronavirus clearly having a major and material impact on the UAE economy and global trade as we know it. I'm wondering if we can just begin by getting you to characterize this business environment and some of the challenges that you're facing at the moment. Explain it to us. How is the world looking right now?
First of all, thank you, and it's a pleasure to be with you. Of course, it's a challenging time for everyone, especially when you look at really food. I mean, food, as you know, United Arab Emirates is dependent on food imports. Almost 80% of the food comes from abroad, so that puts a huge challenge on the system here within UAE. Of course, the biggest challenge is really the supply chain. Would the supply chain hold? Is it resilient that it can deal with the food stocks? So really, we looked at everything in terms of making sure that first we were able to bring food from wherever we can in case if it was needed. Fortunately, of course, UAE being forward-thinking, the government had really thought about food security a long time back. And as a result of that, in 2017, actually, the government has created a ministry with a minister who looks after food security to look at many options to make sure that, the sustainability of the food in United Arab Emirates for the citizens of UAE and the residents for a long period, at least a minimum of 6 months at normal days or normal times, but especially at crisis and especially at challenging times like now, of course, things were put in motion, in action, to look at and make sure that really we were able to sustain and keep the food supply to the country. And we have seen quite remarkable way of how we have dealt with this. Actually, the citizens and the residents in the country, they have not felt that there were any food shortages. On the contrary, food were available at all times in all the outlets. There was a fantastic system put in place to monitor, to check. So everything was done really to make sure that we were tracing and tracking and making sure that there were diversity in terms of supplies. And at the same time, if we had to put, extreme measures by even sending flights to certain destinations, so then we can bring food. So this was really kind of a top priority from our leadership to make sure that everybody worked toward sustainability and having sufficient food available. And beside that, of course, we had many of what we call educational matters in terms of making sure that the people understood that, not to panic. There is enough food in the country, and therefore, when you go and purchase things, then you just purchase to what you need. You don't need to really panic and overbuy, and then, you end up wasting your food. So, and campaigning, communications at all levels with everyone, with key supply chain players, with traders, with importers, with exporters, with people. So this is all taken place, and indeed it was a challenging time. But I think we have done. UAE has done a pretty good job to be able to control this.
Right, Mohammed. How long do you expect the recovery to take to get back to pre-virus levels for the port sector?
Well, it's not only from the UAE perspective. It is actually, many countries, as you know, that they have their own challenges, of course, in terms of, first of all, producing things where, as you know, that people have moved away from production, moved away from farms, moved away from where they grow things. So it's really the countries themselves who are facing these kind of issues. And the supply chain. There have been a huge disruption in supply chains in certain countries and certain regions, which has made it really difficult. So I think it's a matter of time. I think in UAE we are very confident that things will come up very quickly. As you have mentioned now, we are back to normalcy here. So obviously flights are starting. Residents who were abroad, into lockdowns of their own countries now will be coming back. The governments have issued kind of a process and procedures for tourism to come back again. So we expect normalcy to come back very fast and very quick here in United Arab Emirates.
Mohammed, can I ask you as well, we know other major businesses in the country have had to take some quite drastic steps to right-size their operations as a result of the pandemic. Just look at Emirates, for example, which has had to force staff to take salary cuts and also axe jobs. I'm just curious to get a sense from you as to how this has impacted DP World specifically. Will you have to make any of those kinds of adjustments in order to keep the business on the right track? And perhaps more importantly as well, will you require any financial support from the UAE government?
No, I mean, our group, our chairman and our group CEO, the management have really announced that we are not going to let anybody go. Neither we are going to cut into salaries. We as a company really have good governance in place. We always, even in normal days, not necessarily in crisis time, we look at our numbers, we look at our investments. So financially, we are good. We are, we are a very agile company where we look at things ahead and we see when there are kind of challenges coming up upon us, we just basically look and change and evolve into new situations. So I can tell you that we're very comfortable. We of course, we are careful. We need to make sure that we look at every component of our business. But so far, we have not let anybody go. Neither we have a plan to let anybody go. Neither we have a plan also to reduce any of their salaries or compensation benefit. And in terms of financing, I can tell you that, again, it was announced officially that we did not seek any kind of financial aid or help from the government. On the contrary, we, like any other company, we go to the market. Either we issue bonds or we, get finances through the normal financial institutions. So this is really has been the situation with DP World.